You've got a watch with a dirty great scratch in it and you want to remove it. That's what we're going to do today. So if we have a look at this one, hopefully you might be able to see there's a really big scratch coming right down here. I should also point out that this is for watches with acrylic crystals. So most of your cheap Casios have got acrylic crystals. Some vintage dive watches, not G-Shock. So if you've got a G-Shock, this won't work. If you're not sure, give your watch a Google and try and find out what crystal it's got. In order to do this, we are going to need a few things. Firstly, some sandpaper. Ideally, at least an 800 and a 1200 grit. If you can get finer, a 2000 would be absolutely brilliant. You'll need some headlight restorer. This is really cheap stuff. It costs about £7 for a bottle. Anything kind of like this, any other brand would be fine. Some kind of a cloth. I'm just going to use a chamois today. And a little bit of water too. So with this watch, with it having this bezel, I'm just going to take this bezel off because I know this comes off and just get a little bit easier access to just the crystal, which means I won't be sanding the bezel too. So I'm just going to pop a case back tool, just slide that around the bezel and that'll just snap off. Okay, so now I've got access to just the crystal. So sometimes you can feel how bad a scratch is by just running your nail around. Although I don't have much in the way of fingernails, it's not catching. So that's not a particularly deep scratch. Sometimes a deep scratch, it'll just catch on your nail. But we're going to give it a proper go over anyway, and make sure it's actually all clear. I'm going to start with a very small piece of the 800 grit sandpaper. I don't think it will be written on the back because I've only got a really small piece, but I don't need a piece much bigger than this. And I'm just going to go to work on that crystal. I try and go against the main scratch, so I'm going opposite it. I'll go in all directions, but primarily I want to go across it just to get rid of that scratch. I don't necessarily focus just on the scratch area. I try and do everything as well, and that includes as close to the edges as I can. If you've got a digital watch and you can't take the bezel off, you might just want to tape up, maybe some masking tape around the edges just to make sure you're not going to sand anything else on the watch. So just going in all directions. I'm not pushing too heavily. Now, once it gets like this, it can be quite hard to tell if you've actually done any good on it. So what I do is I put a drop of water on. So I'll just put a drop of water on there now and just rub that around. It will suddenly look very clear, but it's not an accurate representation, but it might just be able to give you a slightly better view on if there are any scratches still remaining. Now, I don't think I've done that enough yet, so I'm going to I'll leave it wet and I'm going to just sand it a little bit more. One of the good things about doing it this way is if you don't manage to sand the scratch out, it's easy to just have another go. So I'll just wet that again. We'll have another look. Now I can't see that big vertical scratch anymore, but that doesn't mean it's not there. So I'm just going to dry that off with my chamois. Okay, I can see it's really sort of getting cloudy now. That will happen. Don't worry about that. It is a little bit scary at this point, but we will fix that. So I'm just going to do a little bit more just to make sure with this one. Kind of looks okay though. So I'm just going everywhere. I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to try the 1200 now. So I've got another small piece. This is a little bit finer. This is a 1200 grit now. I wish I had some 2000 actually, but 1200 seems okay. And when I'm coming to the sort of finishing point, I may have been going in all different directions, but I will try and take it in one direction for the sort of last pass. So maybe I'll just go up and down. So I'll try and do this vertically. Now, because I'm doing this on camera, it's not the best possible job that I could do. If the camera wasn't in the way, I might be able to do this a bit better, but I'm sure it will be okay. Okay, so I'm just going to drop a bit of water on that now. Just giving that another go over with a 1200. Pop a bit of water on there. Going to dry that off with my chamois, give it a little bit clean. Quite a lot of dust on there, but that's fine because that's what we're going to use the headlight polish for. So I'm going to try some headlight polish on it now. Now I use this. There is a product called Polywatch which is supposed to be good, but Polywatch is about the same price as this, and you get a tiny little tube. Now this stuff will last you a long time. It's probably a little bit more work, but it is way cheaper. So what I do is I just pop a little bit, not too much, which I have done there. Just pop a little bit on the crystal. Probably a bit too much there. I'm just going to take some of that excess off. And just slowly kind of work that in. Now, the more pressure you can put on this, the better, I believe. Otherwise, it might just take you quite a few goes, which this is probably a bit that takes the longest, actually. It takes a lot longer than actually sanding the crystal down. Sometimes you can do it without sanding, but honestly, I just find sanding it down is way quicker than having to polish over and over and over again. And it's starting to come good. It's a little cloudy. You can see that around the numbers. A little cloudy, so it definitely needs some more polishing, but I can't see that big scratch in this one anymore. So I definitely think I've got the big scratch out. It's just a case of doing a lot more polishing now. Just making sure to get right those edges. It's easy to miss the edges of a crystal, and then it just looks a little cloudy around the edges, so make sure you are getting polish all around the edges too. So I've been polishing this one for about 5 minutes or so now, not much more than that. The time will probably tell you that. I can't really con you on this because the time's being filmed, obviously. Now, if you've used a higher grit sandpaper than 1200, you probably won't have to polish it for as long. So the higher grade sandpaper will result in a smoother finish and less polishing. In fact, if you can get a really high grade sandpaper, you might not need to do any polishing at all. I don't know. I've never had anything higher than 1200. What I'm going to do now is give this watch a clean up, and then we'll get some more close-ups so you can see the outcome. So I've popped the bezel back on and given that one a quick clean up, and it's looking pretty good actually. Let's get some close-ups so you can see it properly. So no more signs of that scratch that was coming right down here. It's looking really good actually. Really happy with the outcome of that one. Almost looks brand new, and a little bit more polishing will take it so it does look brand new. Really happy with that, and that is one of the reasons why I do like a watch that's got an acrylic crystal, because you can always revive them.